What are we up to today on the Zambo TV? This is the roof of the studio project. If you've been following it, or you're just tuning in for the first time, I built a studio control room, a little listening room in a workshop in Glasgow. I have been using the room. The room sounds great. However, the soundproofing wasn't very good. In fact, it was fairly crap. So it's a bit messy, but nobody's ever going to see it again. That's rubber stable mat. Let's drop this thing down. There's a bit there. Let's have a look at it. So the soundproofing wasn't very good in the room. I had already put in that foam insulation. I took it all back up. The inside of the room the roof was double skinned with normal plasterboard, and I used finishing plaster as an adhesive to stick the two sheets together. So there's a 12.5mm sheet, then another 12.5mm sheet in the inside of the roof, and the four walls. It's great, isn't it? It's looking good. The floors in another video I think I did a pretty good job in that. Then we added 1/3 of a ton of plaster to the inside of it, and it didn't do very much at all for soundproofing. I know you can buy sound block, the heavier duty stuff, and apparently if you double that up, it weighs about 1/3 more per sheet than standard 8x4 plasterboard, but I didn't do very much. So I jumped back up here, dipped all the foam, you can see the foam there, dipped all this foam back up. Then I added another 3 layers of plasterboard between the joists. There's a joist here, and don't want to get any for the joist there. Again, used plaster as an adhesive. Then I developed an issue because I'd put so much water and mixed the plaster up really thin. This isn't building code stuff, it's just I had plaster lying about and lots of plasterboard that I wanted to get rid of, and if you keep your eye on Gumtree, you can pick this stuff up fairly cheaply. So it's now went from 2 layers of, that's wood obviously, but I'm making an example. It's now went from 2 layers of plasterboard up to 5, and I think they're 12.5mm, so 12.5mm, 25, 50, 62.5mm, 62.5mm of plasterboard plus all the plaster. So it took ages for the water to evaporate that I'd been using as an adhesive. That's finally done. Then I came across this stuff. I think it's called stable matting. So on top of the 5 layers of plasterboard and plaster, I then cut this stuff out and put that across the thickened plasterboard. Put all this foam back in, sealed all the edges with expanding foam, and today's a good day in Zamboland because I should get the entire roof finished. Then all the crap that's lying down here, I can build some shelving up here, bring it up. There's the offcuts of the foam. Bring it up and get some more space back in my workshop because there's loads of other stuff I want to do in here. So where am I with this? Foam does nothing for soundproofing. Thermally it's great, but it's not the stuff to use. There's a very, very high density Rockwool product you can get that I'm sure would work much better. I'm going to seal the roof up today. Everything could always be better. The room sounds great, which is, my goodness, so cold in here today. The roof sounds great. The room sounds great, but I need to double skin the wall that side, the wall at the front. No, I've already done that one. And the wall down here, maybe get out. After this experience, I'd say even 5 layers of plasterboard don't do very much for soundproofing. I'd say density. And if you think about it, I don't know how much it costs per sheet, but it gets to a point where bricks or cinder blocks, what do you call these things, would be cheaper and better at soundproofing. Soundproofing is different from sound treatment. Soundproofing is all about density, how heavy you can make something to contain the energy in sound waves. That sounded as if I knew what I was talking about, didn't it? So I'm going to button this back up. This is going to change everything in the workshop. I can start storing stuff back up here. It'll free up space down the bottom. I was thinking, I may sell everything that I own. How philosophical is that? But I need to start saying I've got loads of audio kit up there I've not used in ages. That needs to get sold. Then probably in the summer, or when it's a bit warmer, we'll start adding more plasterboard to the outside of the structure to thicken the walls up and see if it helps stop sound moving in. I think if I did this, then had another structure built round about it, it would have worked. But it is what it is. I'm making some music downstairs. I'm real happy with the results. The room does sound fabulous. And I'm happy I managed to pull this off. This is one of the final jobs on this phase of the project, and it means a lot to me. Sometimes you get overpowered by the amount of work you've got left to do. However, a great mantra in my life is do one thing, get it finished, then move on to the next task. That's been to the detriment of the rest of the workshop, but if you're overpowered by the amount of work you have to do, split it into smaller, easier to do tasks, work through them one at a time, and after a period of time, everything should start locking together. Right, so this is another listening room one. If you're doing this yourself, I've shown my mistakes as much as I've shown my triumphs. Soundproofing's all about density. You need a lot of weight to contain sound wave. And even if you use a lot of density, some bass notes are so big and so long, they'll just see a wall as something that can resonate. And with the structure being tied, the inside to the outside, if the inside wall resonates, the outside wall's going to resonate as well. Does that make sense? So you can see why people build studios the way they build them. They use concrete, they use brick, they have 3 layers of walls, they have airtight doors and all that type of thing. But anyway, quick update on the listening room. I'm a happy guy. I mean, the weight of that stuff is nuts. I reckon there's maybe 1/3 of a ton of that sitting on top of the 5 layers of plasterboard. So, is it done? I'll still be chipping away at this in 6 months or a year's time, but it's done enough for me to get these boards back down and move on to the next phase of my life. Thank you all for watching. Goodbye.